10 Secrets You Missed in the Encanto Movie Part 3. Disney's Encanto, without a doubt, one of the most liked and enjoyed animated movies of Disney Studios of the last decade. Mainly because it's an animated movie with so much to offer. It is packed with everything that a great animated movie must have. It's such a complete and beautiful animated movie that leaves you speechless in many of its outstanding scenes. The absolutely fabulous colors of the movie are just a joy to watch. The colors and graphics that make the movie feel like a roller coaster of emotions while watching it is what makes Encanto the best family movie. Encanto is a movie that makes you feel good, calm, and happy when you watch it. The great original songs add that special touch to the movie. Songs like We Don't Talk About Bruno or Those Orugitas. Amazing songs that are super catchy and fun. The graphics, the beautiful colors, the music, the amazing characters like Bruno and Camilo all join together to create such an absolutely outstanding movie. Encanto tells us the story of Maribel Madrigal, a fun girl who has a very happy life inside the Colombian mountains in a place called the Encanto. The Encanto is a magical place that gives all of the members of the family a special gift when they're born, like being able to hear things from miles away or being able to transform into anything like Camilo can do. It's an amazing place, but Maribel, the most fun, intelligent, and happy girl of Encanto, doesn't get anything. When she was young and the ceremony to get the power was held, the door was closed and she didn't get any power. In search of her power and ability, Maribel will find out that her real power and gift is being herself, as a curse hits Encanto and threatens to destroy the magic of the house. In the process, she will live the best and funniest adventures ever. But there are still many secrets that you guys missed in the Encanto movie. Like I showed you before in Part 1 and Part 2, the movie is full of interesting secrets that make the movie 10 times more enjoyable to watch. So without further ado, let's get straight into the 10 secrets you missed in the Encanto movie Part 3. Let's go, guys! At the beginning of the movie, we see one of the most beautiful scenes of the entire movie, where we see Maribel dancing and singing while showing us her great life inside the magical Encanto house. It's a scene full of music, fun, and joy that really hooks you to the movie from the beginning. Now, after one of the parts of the scene, we see that Maribel is talking to some little kids, telling them that she is as special as the rest of her family. And if we zoom right into Maribel's skirt, we see that she has some drawings, and this is about all of the members of her family. First, we see a candle referencing the one and only Alma Madrigal, the grandma of the Encanto house, whom everyone respects in the house. Secondly, we see a ton of exotic animals. This is of course a reference to the power of Antonio, which is talking to animals. Then we see some flowers which reference the power of Isabella, Maribel's sister, who has the power to grow roses wherever she wants. We also see a sun referencing Peppa and a chameleon referencing the power of Camilo, who can turn into whomever and whatever he wants. During the musical scene that we see at the beginning of the movie, we see a lot of secrets that make the movie even more interesting and amazing to watch. And one of these secrets that is hidden in this scene are the 3 little kids that we can see throughout this entire scene and the movie. But specifically in this frame right here, where we see them all together, we see that the kids hide a lot of interesting facts that make it a lot more interesting to see. The first kid's name is Alejandra. This is a reference to Alejandra Espinosa, the woman who worked on the movie's creation and added a lot into the Encanto storyline, and her story as a child is definitely what inspired the movie in the first place. The second kid is called Juancho, and this is an abbreviation for the name Jose Huicho, and he is a digital designer who is responsible for the dress that Maribel wears throughout the entire movie. And the last kid is called Cecilia, who is a reference to the daughter of the co-director of Encanto, who is also called Cecilia. They basically gave their team a great homage in these kids. In one of the parts of this beautiful scene where Maribel is dancing and happily showing us everything about her beautiful town of Encanto, we see basically all of the great characters of the movie and their respective powers, while a wonderful original song is playing. And one of the characters that we see when Maribel is dancing with all of her family is Alma Madrigal, the grandma of Encanto. Now, if we zoom into her clothing, we see that she has a picture of a mountain in her dress. Well, this is a reference to the mountainous place where the magical house is located. It's also the same place that we see almost at the end of the movie when the magic starts disappearing and everything starts falling apart. And it's also a reference to where she was born and the connections she has with the Encanto house. Also, one of the other characters that we see in this beautiful musical montage is Julieta. And if we also zoom into her blue clothing, we see that it hides another secret too, and it's the picture of a mortar, which is a reference to her great power of being able to cure people with her amazing food. The mortar is a very popular kitchen tool that it's used a lot in Latin America, and used a lot to create the food that we see a lot in Encanto, the arepa, a very cool secret that we see in the movie. During the scene where Maribel asks her sister Luisa for help, we see the most amazing and greatest scenes of the entire movie, where Luisa takes Maribel throughout a world of fantasy and wonder while going through multiple adventures in this world. It's an amazing cinematic music scene that shows us what a masterpiece Encanto is. But in one of the scenes of this musical scene, where Maribel helps Luisa find her real identity, we see a scene where Luisa is holding Maribel from her hand while hanging from a cliff. And if we zoom into Luisa's dress, we see that she has a symbol and drawing of some weights. Well, this is actually a reference to the power of Luisa, which is having an outstanding strength, as we see many times in the movie, where she even lifted a building. Believe it or not, Luisa is actually 19 years old, and she has a very strong and resilient personality. This is why she is the most trusted and relied upon girl of the family, which, as we see later into the movie, puts a lot of pressure on her and causes Maribel to help her find her real identity, and then she becomes even happier. When Maribel is in the room searching for Bruno's relics, she's suddenly interrupted by Peppa Madrigal, the funny auntie of the Madrigal family who also controls the weather with her emotions, which are many. There she tells Maribel that she was about to take some Antonio's things when she heard her say the name Bruno, which is a prohibited name in the Encanto house. Then Felix walks in and they both tell her that they don't talk about Bruno. And this is where the famous and legendary song We Don't Talk About Bruno starts. And in one of the scenes of this song, we see Camilo turning into Bruno and explaining to Maribel why he left. Now, before Camilo transforms into Bruno, we see his clothes, and in it, we see a chameleon. Well, this is a secret reference to his power of being able to transform into whomever he wants. His name Camilo is also a reference to the chameleon. Camilo is basically described as a theater kid and a natural-born comedian, and he always makes the situations of the house funnier and cooler in the family. An interesting secret that shows us his power in more detail and his personality better. Maribel starts noticing some visions about the magic of Encanto having some problems and starting to disappear, but she has nobody to talk to about this, so she goes and talks to the person of the family who hears everything and everyone from miles away, Dolores. She goes up to her and starts asking her to tell her about the secret of the magic of Encanto, but then we see that it was Camilo all along pretending to be Dolores. Just Camilo always doing funny transformations, but then we see that the real Dolores comes and tells Maribel that no one is worried about the magic of Encanto as her and the rat she hears on the walls. Well, this means that Dolores knew that Bruno was living behind the walls all the time, because as we can see here, she says she could hear them, because if you can hear an animal like a rat, you can also hear a human being behind the walls. So why didn't she ever say something about Bruno hiding behind the wall? It's clear from this secret reference that she knew that Bruno was hiding there all the time. Why didn't she say anything? Well, this is a secret that we will probably never know. Now, here's where Luisa tells Maribel the whole thing in the great musical montage that we saw before, where Maribel and Luisa go through amazing adventures in a world full of references to many movies like Titanic and Hercules. And in one of the places they land in, we see that Luisa takes Maribel and they fly away in a very interesting manner. Well, this is actually a reference to Superman and the Superman movies. If we go back to all of the Superman movies and the series, we see that he adopts the same way and manner of flying that we see Luisa doing here. The first Superman comic was made in 1938, and in the first comics, we can start seeing Superman flying in this way. His way of flying became so legendary that many other characters in other movies adopted this way of flying as well. A little funny reference to the Superman movies in Encanto. And in one of these scenes of the movie, Maribel teaches her how to grow other types of plants instead of just roses. And this is when Isabella is arguing with Maribel about why she married Mariano, and she suddenly grows a cactus out of nowhere. Well, if we look very closely into the cactus, we can see that it has a very specific shape, and it has a very similar shape to Mickey Mouse. The ears and the circle-shaped head is identical to that one of Mickey Mouse. And taking into account that Encanto was from Disney, just like Mickey Mouse this is a very obvious reference to the funny character. Mickey Mouse was first created in 1929 by Walt Disney as one of the first animated characters ever, and since then it has remained the mascot of the company and has been a legendary character ever since, appearing and premiering in countless of movies and series. And in one of these moments, we see the one and only Camilo lose his powers in a very funny manner. We see that his head shrinks into the little head of a baby. And if we take a close look at this scene, we see that it has a lot of similarities to the scene of Beetlejuice, where we see the creature's head shrink in the same way that happens to Camilo in this scene of Encanto. It's definitely a funny reference to the classic movie of the late 80s. And well, my guys, that's all the dose of DJ the rest for today. I really hope you guys liked this video and liked all of these secrets you missed in the Disney's Encanto movie part 3. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one, my guys. Peace!